Apparently over 50% of you who watch my Tower of God content are not subscribed, so if you're interested in Tower of God just like I am, be sure to subscribe. It supports the channel and you get to see more content, so it helps both of us. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more. Have you ever thought about what Tower of God would be like if Bomb wasn't the main character? What if one of the other side characters was all of a sudden the main character instead of Bomb, or maybe an alternate universe where one of these other characters becomes the protagonist or has been the protagonist since the very beginning? We're gonna look at designs, character, personality, even like powers, and just see which characters in the Tower of God universe could do well as a main character. Basically just the ones that I could almost imagine as a main character. The first character that I'm gonna show off here is Shibisu. I feel like Shibisu radiates that like weak, boring protagonist energy. Wow, I'm dissing on Shibisu. He feels like the kind of character who could start out being your main character who's very weak, and eventually he like finds ways to still show off his talents. Like maybe he's not physically strong, but maybe he becomes physically strong later, or he shows off his main character potential through being a leader, through strategy. You know, he feels like the main character of their team. Like, well, he's the leader. He feels like he could be the main character if we took the story in a different way, where the main character wasn't physically very powerful. Maybe his style is like collecting allies and leading them into battle through strategy. Shibisu just feels like the kind of character who could do that, so I gotta give him a spot. I also want to talk about Hots, because Hots to me is in a similar vein to Shibisu, being not really special. He's not from one of the families, he's not an irregular, he doesn't have any special blood or from a special family. He's really just a son of a blacksmith who trained twice as hard as everybody else, and thereby can like stand with them, you know? And that speaks a lot to a lot of people. Like I know a lot of people love Hots because of that character design, including myself, or that character personality, and that is exactly what you need in a main character. So I feel like Hots could have been the main character if we went like in between the Shibisu and the Bomb. Like he's still strong, but he's not as special as Bomb, but he's not as weak and unspecial as Shibisu, if that makes sense. Everything that Hots does just feels like, man, I could get a whole story on Hots. Like I could get an entire spin-off on Hots, and I would read every chapter the minute it comes out, because Hots is so lovable, so pure, so badass, and I don't know, he's kind of the coolest character ever, so I love Hots. He deserves to be the main character. This one's gonna be a little weird. Let's talk about Hockney for a second. You may be like, what the heck? Hockney? That's kind of random. Now, Hockney to me almost seems like he could be the main character because of his special ability. He can see a few seconds into the future, sort of control it, but if something bad's gonna happen or something crazy, he gets like a freaking vision and he's like, oh shoot, you know? But it doesn't work around certain people who mess with destiny, like Jahad, you know? When they met Data Jahad, Hockney's head started hurting because he couldn't see the future. And I think that's a really, really cool power with a lot of potential. So, and combine that with the fact that Hockney's design is so unique. The white hair, the crazy cool white red eyes, you know, and the fact that he uses a fishing pole, I don't know, it's or like a lantern thing. It's like, I don't really see him being the main character of Tower of God, but imagine this character, Hockney, in a story where he has to use this ability to figure out what's going on, and he can like see the future, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like he still has to make decisions and choices. You know, maybe he sees something horrible and he has to, there's so much you could do with that power, and I love it in Tower of God, but it's like you could use that so much more and make a really interesting story outside of Tower of God. This might be the one that I'm the least sure about, and that's Endorsi Jahad. I don't necessarily feel like she radiates main character energy in Tower of God story, but like if we were to take a look at what Endorsi is doing right now and like her antics in outside of like the main story, like when she's with Shibisu's team or when she's trying to do this and that and torturing Traveler, I don't know. I feel like if we were to get just a few chapters away from the main group, like not even a spin-off series, like just a couple chapters, and we followed Endorsi's perspective when we got to see what her life was like as a princess. Like her story is so interesting. She's a princess, she's famous, she's a model, she's crazy good at fighting, she's kind of on the run from Jahad right now. She betrayed Jahad, you know? There's so much that's really interesting about Endorsi, her feelings for Bomb, but also like her place in Shibisu's team and Bomb's team. She's kind of the only one who's kind of like really a part of both teams. I don't know, there's really something about Endorsi that I feel like could be capitalized more, but at the same time, maybe not as the main character. Maybe just for a couple chapters. Let's spin away from the main story. Let's take a look at what Endorsi's doing, see her point of view. I think that'd be pretty cool. Okay, I've saved the best two for last because I feel like these two characters are very likely to even get like a spin-off, or maybe for us to go follow them like for an extended period of time. These other ones were just kind of for fun. I don't think we're ever actually going to get something on them. At least, well, maybe I'll bite my tongue later, or I'll eat my words later. But these two characters feel like they not only could be the main character, but they already kind of were the main character. The first one is Wangnan. Wangnan practically was the main character when Season 2 started. Of course, eventually that switched over to Viol, Bomb, whatever, but we sometimes do cut away to Wangnan's group. Like, pretty frequently. Not anymore, sadly, but I feel like SIU has talked about maybe doing so more in the future. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure SIU even stated he'd be potentially down for doing like a Wangnan spin-off. Which I'm sort of on the fence about because I want to see Wangnan in the main story more, you know? But at the same time, I'm not gonna say no to more Tower of God content as long as SIU is healthy enough to do it. So, I don't know, but like Wangnan, he is kind of like Shibisu, but even more of a main character. Like Shibisu's a little bit goofy. His powers are using his observer and strategy, but like, could you really do an entire spin-off on Shibisu? You probably could. But with Wangnan, he has so many interesting allies around him. He has an entire deep and dark secret connecting to the Jihad family, connecting to Karaka and all these people that we barely know anything about. You could expand so much on that. That alone makes him interesting as a main character, but also the fact that now he has this sword. We don't know who this sword told him to kill, but like that adds a whole new layer to everything. His place in his own team, but also connection to Bomb and everything. There's so much with Wangnan. Like, Wangnan is my favorite character in Tower of God, probably always will be, because he's the kind of guy, he wants to become king of the tower, but he's not very strong, and yet he has this crazy secret. This crazy secret doesn't make him powerful, at least now, maybe later on, but it makes him feel more layered, valid, maybe? His desire for the throne comes from a pure origin, and it makes me wonder, is there going to be conflict later on with maybe Bomb? I don't know. Wangnan, to me, is kind of the best. He's kind of the best. The last character I want to talk about is someone that I desperately need a spin-off. Like, we need either a spin-off or like 10 chapters breaking down this journey or this past, and that's Jihad. Jihad and his adventure through the tower. Imagine how epic that would be if we could have an entire story on Jihad, Arlen, V, Eurasia Blossom, and Arie Han, and Edwan, and all these people, Jan Hana, and Tuperi, and all these people. It's like, even characters that we barely know anything about. It'd be so interesting. A young Gustang meeting Hedon at the start of the tower, maybe all these other things relating to the workshop, and I don't know, like, there's so much potential meeting the native one, or the descendants of the native one, right? Like the other people with the ancient power, and like there's so many adventures that they went through, so many things that they did, meeting Quadrado, meeting Luzlek, maybe meeting Malik PGR, like depending on how the events play out in the timeline. It would be so freaking cool if we had an entire story on the climb. Like, that would be, I would lose my mind. Like, if that got announced or we got something related to that prequel, I'd be done. I could die happy, because that's all I need, bro. That's all I need. And I feel like I mentioned before, this is maybe possible. Like, if we don't get an entire spin-off, I do think, and I hope, like, we need this, right? I hope we can at least get a glimpse or a few flashbacks into the climb, seeing everybody young. Could you imagine a few panels showing Edwan and Urien and the Lopobia family head and all these people lined up, and they're young and they're different, right? They're not as corrupted yet. Oh my, I cannot even describe. That would be the freaking coolest thing ever. So we'll definitely see what SIU wants to do with that. Let's not get our hopes too high, but I do think we might get something into that at some point in the future. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I didn't include some characters because some of them just didn't feel right to me, like Kun, for example. Kun kind of radiates like second main character energy. I'm using that word a lot, like energy. I don't usually use that word, but like when you're just talking about characters and their placement, I feel like it makes sense. He feels like the second main character, and I don't really see him being the main character just because he feels like the kind of guy who's gonna back up the MC. I don't really know. And of course, we all know in our hearts that Rak is the true main character. I didn't even have to mention him. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and again, subscribe if you want to see more Tower of God content. And yeah, you can join the Discord down below if you want to do that. Keep in mind, next Friday, we're starting our new Tower of God themed Pokemon Randomizer Nuzlocke series on the channel, which is beyond hype. We're naming everybody after Tower of God characters. We're playing through Pokemon Black 2, which is the hardest game. We might lose episode 1. We might have all of our teammates die right away, and that's it. I don't really know, but I hope to see you there. It's gonna be an absolute blast. Yeah, and that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next Tower of God discussion video. Take care.